Nii-chan, how do you like your coffee?
I like my coffee how I like my anime. Bible Black. Hello everybody and welcome to Anime Cafe episode 5. My name is Anton Addison and I am joined here with
Nina, aka Hythe, aka Mango Cyrene.
And we're back after a long weekend.
A really long weekend.
What was our weekend filled with, Nina?
We took a trip up north with the main goal of doing a Splash Free cosplay shoot. And Splash Free is the Arabian ending to the first season of Free. And we got up to the Sleeping Bear Dunes and we were all set to go, and then it rained. So we didn't get to do our shoot, but we spent the entire weekend LARPing instead. We did not intend to LARP. It just sort of happened.
The LARPing was strong, and this weekend was off to a great start right off the bat. When we first arrived and we get to the beach, and you're taking your power stance on the bench.
The wind was basically blowing me over because I'm pretty tiny, and the wind was not light at all. It was quite strong, and it nearly blew me off a bench several times.
And I'm standing there on the swing set, and Emma's taking hipster photos of me between two lighthouses.
So it was a really good start to the weekend, and we went out to dinner, and then
with
that
my
night,
horrible jacket that I decided to wear.
We don't talk about that jacket.
But yeah, that night.
We played Cards Against Humanity, and we were finishing up costumes. Then we were like, okay, well, everyone's tired. We're gonna go to sleep, and we all get into bed, and it's quiet, and then we all just start giggling, and then the LARPing starts. We're all in character, and we keep talking to each other.
So we've got Haru, Sosuke, Rin, and Makoto. And let's talk about the sleeping arrangements.
Well, we put the Bara boys in one bed, so Sosuke and Makoto were in a bed all to themselves.
With our long legs draping over the bed.
And then we needed a throwback to Australia, so Rin and Haru were sharing a bed. And Jillian, our Rin cosplayer, her and I literally stayed up for most of the night staring at each other, just muttering, Australia, Australia, Australia.
And talking about how the wind was turning on.
Okay, that scared me. The air conditioning unit was quite loud, and it went on, and I screamed, the wind turned on.
I also loved the fact that the door did not have a lock on it.
Yes, we stayed at this tiny little inn, and it was really quaint and adorable, but there was no inside lock on the door to our room. Like, you could lock it from the outside, but not from the inside, so that was kind of a concern for us. Which is the main reason why we put the Bara boys in the bed closest to the door.
Yeah, I'm sleeping closest to the door, put all of my stuff in front of the door, and throughout the entire night, every time I would hear a noise, myself or Emma, our Makoto cosplayer, would sit up and be like, what's happening?
Whereas Ren and I are just like, they'll take care of it.
They'll take care
Whatever.
of it. The big Bara boys can handle themselves.
And so we wake up the next morning, and it's kind of cold and gray, and we take our time getting ready for the shoot, and we're like, well, maybe the rain will stop. We have a window from 2 to 4 p.m. according to the forecast app. And so we drive out to the dunes, and it's pouring rain. And we sit there for an hour and a half, I think it was.
Yeah, watching somebody in a spacesuit.
Yeah, there was an astronaut climbing the sand dunes. And we were like, oh, look, it's Nagisa.
But future fish all up in there.
So we keep waiting for the rain to stop, and eventually we check the app again, and it's like, your window disappeared.
There is no window.
There is no window. It is just going to keep raining. So we gave up and decided to just drive back downstate. And the entire drive home, we continued to LARP.
Nina and myself are bickering back and forth in
It's
character.
Haru and Sosuke.
You could, like, cut the tension with a butter knife. And Makoto is just shooting me glares from my right because we're sitting next to each other.
And Rin is just like, this was a horrible idea. Because we determined that the entire trip would be Rin's idea.
Oh, yeah. He would be like, let's go to Michigan for a day.
No, it would be like, guys, I have another idea for a life-changing field trip. And he would take them on an overnight stay camping or something. And it would just be horrible because Haru and Sosuke would be at it the entire time. Yep. And then Makoto would be trying to keep the peace. And poor Rin would be just like stuck in the middle of everything.
Not sure whose side to take or who to be friendly with. And we just kept coming up with new fic ideas in the car.
So because I kept putting on different soundtracks, and at first we were listening to like Pirates of the Caribbean and Dark Knight and a bunch of different CDs. And during the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack, we were like, so, let's come up with an idea for a pirate AU. And we went on for, it was the entire soundtrack, we were discussing fic ideas for this pirate AU, and now we're going to cosplay it because an amazing artist, the name escapes me right now, I'll have Anton add it later, but she drew amazing pirate designs for all of the free characters, and we're planning to cosplay them now. Mm-hmm. And then we had a superhero AU.
Oh yeah, the superhero AU.
Which we were like, let's make a happy, fun, Marvel-style superhero AU, and immediately it took a turn for the worst.
Sosuke's only power is to take on the pain of everybody else. He has no physical abilities or anything. He just trains himself like Batman and can take everyone's pain.
And then we just looked at each other and we were like, that got really sad.
It got really dark
really fast. So that ended pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
We didn't continue with that one.
No.
But we also came up with a drifter AU. Speed racer, street racer.
I only drift free.
And then I started acting it out while we were driving at one point. Because I got really into it and was going 90 on the freeway.
I loved the description of Nagisa's car with Ray in it with just penguins and butterflies all over it. Just decals.
But guys, consider this. Rin as a street racer with a really, really attractive car. It's just a really sick, cool car.
Yeah, when we were pulling back into town and we saw, what was it? It wasn't a Vet. I'm trying to think what kind of car it was. I don't know.
Similar to a Vet.
Similar to a Vet, but couldn't think of what it was, but it looked BA.
It had really sick rims on it.
Yeah, real sick rins on it. And then we went to the cider mill, and it didn't end there.
No,
the LARPing continued.
We thought, okay, we'll go to the cider mill and we'll be done. We'll leave the LARPing in the car. We'll go get cider and donuts and apples and whatever, and we'll be fine. We'll be socially acceptable members of society.
Yeah, we're going to be surrounded by normal human beings.
Like, yeah, we'll still be in our wigs and whatever, because at that point we were still all half in costume just from sitting in the car. And we were like, we'll blend in for the most part, and the LARPing will end.
Nope. The LARPing continued and
in
intensified.
Public. It continued in public, and it was horribly embarrassing.
There was too much bickering going on. Everybody's arguing in character, and then Makoto's like grabbing you away and separating us because we're arguing.
Then Rin's like, kids, I will turn this car around.
Rin's like, I will get us out of this line right now.
But eventually we make it back home, and we set up this little, like, Arabian vignette in your living room.
Yes.
And we start doing, like, normal photos. Like, we're just like...
That lasted for about 10 minutes.
Yeah. We were like, we'll just take normal photos of Rin and Haru, and it'll be great. Because Emma, our Makoto, decided to do photographer Makoto and handle the photo shoot element of it.
Sosuke gets to be the tall bar with the light.
Yeah, he was handling the lights.
And cooking. That too.
And he also cooked his dinner.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was a little busy.
Yeah.
Because our shoot progressively got more and more shippy.
Oh, yeah. The clothes started to come off.
Yup.
People started to mount each other. I'm like, yeah, this is my kind of photo shoot.
It was so worth it, though.
Things escalated.
Like I mentioned in last episode, I'm quite the shipper. I really am. Like, I love characters in series at face value, but I do enjoy the shipping a lot. And getting to do like a Rin Haru shoot was really fun. Obviously, everything stayed PG-13, but the pictures.
In that photo shoot.
Hey, the other one stayed PG-13 too. We skipped the main section.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a moment.
But anyways, the photos turned out really nice, and you can check out my Tumblr or my Facebook page where everything will be posted. But after that, we moved on to a Mako Haru shoot where we were just
room.
In his bed.
In my bed. I was ready.
And poor Emma was so perfect as Makoto because she kept getting so flustered. It was so cute. It was
First
really
thing
adorable.
we do, you and Emma are just like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, let me take charge. Grab his collar, put your hand there, hold him there, grab the hip.
And Emma's face just goes bright red and she covers it and holds it in her hands and I'm just like,
Mount him.
This is real life Makoto and I cannot handle it.
Trade your clothes, get under the sheets.
But overall, it was one of the best weekends of my life. It was so much fun. And I cosplay a lot, but I have not had that much fun with cosplay in a long time. Like, I've done a lot of series and characters that I care about, but Free is a series that is so close to my heart. And you heard how much I ranted about it last episode. And getting to portray these characters with some of my best friends was just such an incredible experience. And we have all these new plans for next year, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful. And I really needed like a trip like that after my week of school. I was just like, I need a vacation.
Yeah, and it was a good way to kind of end the season of Free.
Yeah.
Like, it was a week later, but it was a good closure to have in real life. Now that we have all the costume plans to look forward to, it's like, Free didn't really end.
Yeah, that pirate AU.
I'm so excited for that. There's going to be a sword fighting video.
Oh, yeah, there will be.
Costume.
I'm already like looking at furs to buy, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to be nice.
Yeah, and boy, there's a lot of months in between now and then. We got more cons to worry about.
Oh, Yoma's quickly approaching, and I just don't even want to think about it. I'm like looking at all of my Tokyo Ghoul stuff that I have to work on. And I'm like,
I know, it's officially less than a month till YomaCon, and I've decided that I'm going to try and finish Barbara Gordon New 52 version for it. And I was writing up my checklist of stuff to do this morning, and was just like, what have I done to myself?
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel. Like, Josh was talking to me today, and he's like, let's meet up on Thursday to get our passes. And I'm like, oh yeah, what day will that be? October 30th. What day is it today? October 5th. Oh no. 25 days remain. I love the socks that you're wearing.
Thank you.
So
you
fitting.
guys can't see them, but they are my Haru Nanase socks.
Very fitting after the weekend that we just got out of. So.
The LARPing has continued because now I'm wearing myself on my feet.
If we started LARPing on this episode, I think there would be no going back. You called me Sosuke multiple times yesterday.
I went too deep, guys. I
everyone.
started calling everyone by their character names. I don't know how many times I called Jillian Rin.
Yeah. In the car, you said Sosuke, and I just looked over at you, and I was like, we've gone too deep.
And like Jillian and I had been having a discussion while the bar boys in the back were having their talk, and I interrupted them, and I was just like, guys, so Rin and I. And then I just stopped. And I went too deep.
I want Makoto and Sosuke to actually be manga dweebs and talk about Naruto. I need...
Yeah, these dweebs in the back talking about Naruto the entire car ride.
It was horrible. All the way there and all the way back. Emma and myself were just Naruto this, Naruto that. Sasuke protection team.
Sasuke is so important.
He is important. Don't judge.
I'm judging a little bit. I'm going to judge Sasuke a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, Free is officially on the brain. We need to move on to a different topic.
Alrighty, well, on this episode, we've got something really exciting. With romance in the air, we're talking about romance in anime, and we're going to be reviewing Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun. What can be considered as one of my favorite romances in a long time as far as anime goes.
Definitely. We've been needing a series like this one for a long time.
Yeah, especially with what's been going on with romance in anime as of late. It has not been so great. And just before we started the show, I think this is actually like a great point to start with is Sword Art Online.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The first 12 episodes. Good.
The first season of Sword Art Online, I loved
The first half
it.
of the first season.
Okay, even the second half I still really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't bad.
Terrible.
I really had faith in that series, and overall the first season I loved it. I loved how it ended, and spoiler alert for those of you who haven't watched it, but it ends with the main character getting out of the game, and then he's going off to find the girl that he ended up marrying in the game. And you don't know if she got out, you don't know if she's alive. It just kind of ends kind of inconclusively like that. But it felt like the perfect ending.
Yeah, it was really well done. That portion of like the, I don't know how you want to call them seasons, because you can think of the first 24 episodes as like one season, and what's going on now is the next season.
Right.
But that first portion, like when they were just still in that game, it was perfect, because not only was there an awesome romance that developed between the characters, but there was a sense of urgency that pushed their love to where it went.
Exactly. Like, we could die at any moment in this game.
And like when they took their honeymoon and all of that, adorable.
Yes.
One of the sweetest things I've ever seen.
And one of the things I loved about the relationship is it was very give and take, and no one was higher than the other. They were both equals in the relationship.
Kirito at no point was stronger than Asuna, and he had to protect her. Like, she protected him at many moments, and it was just
and she held her own in all the fights. And
she was just as good. Yeah, she was just as good or better than him in a lot of cases, and I think that's why people really appreciated her character. You would see them fighting together, and it's just like she's keeping up and making him actually look worse in certain scenarios.
And in the game, she was actually the more respected player.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I liked that. But then we get into the next portion. And
okay, this is a problem I have with a lot of virtual reality anime as of late, and this includes Excel World and a little bit of Log Horizon here and there.
Yeah, Log Horizon fell into that trap a few times.
And a lot of VR anime gets into the harem trope.
Oh, absolutely.
And this was especially true for the second portion of Sword Art Online. Because, okay, he gets out of the game, and then he has to go back into the game, and all of a sudden there's all these girls throwing themselves at him, including his little sister who suddenly wants to bone her brother. And it's just 10 tons of uncomfortable.
Yeah, but wait, it's his cousin. It's totally okay. It's not
okay.
It's still really creepy, and she's crying, and I'm like, please stop. This is so awkward.
And I mean, there were hints of it during the first portion, like with, what's her name? The dragon girl, the blacksmith girl. That whole episode, I don't know her name because I could not finish watching the episode. It was so disappointing to me because I'd seen designs for her character beforehand and heard that she was the blacksmith, and when we were first introduced to her, I was like, oh, this girl's awesome, I love her, she's the most respected blacksmith in the game, and she's gonna help him get a new sword, and she and Asuna have really cute relationship so far, like a friendship. And then all of a sudden she meets Kirito and throws herself at him. Like, she wants on that boy so bad, and that she immediately falls in love with him, and her entire character revolves around him in less than an episode.
But yeah, it was really frustrating to see her character sort of just take this turn suddenly. Like, they really did a good job developing her character super quickly and making you like this character.
And care about her right off the bat.
But then for it to take this just hard left turn, oh, let's cuddle, I don't know what to do.
I'm so in love with you. I just met you. And isn't this crazy?
Yeah, but here's my real ID thing, so message me in game maybe. But there was like a lot of relationships in that show that I liked, that they portrayed with female characters that weren't exactly romantic, but I appreciated them. When
like the first guild that he joined.
That girl, she made me cry when she sent him that message.
Christmas era of the game was just so heartbreaking when he gets the message from her, and just the way they developed her character, because what we run into a lot of these days is the quote-unquote strong female character. And people forget that there's more to strong women than just the badass bitch.
Yep.
And I use that term very lightly. But kind of that, like, cold-hearted warrior girl that's very popular as of late. And women can be strong in a lot of different ways. And this girl was incredibly strong in her own way.
And it was nice. Like, it was really relieving to see this character. And when they got caught in that room, and like you could tell by even her facial expressions that she accepted what was going to happen to her. She knew she was going to like pass away, and that her feelings towards Kirito or whatever, even though he wasn't reciprocating at all, it was fine. She was totally okay with it. And I loved that. And now the show has gone even deeper. I don't know if you've kept up with the latest season.
I have not, because after they started butchering the show with the harem trope, I got out of there. Because if there's one trope in anime that I cannot stand, it is harem anime.
Welcome to the next season of Sword Art Online, where Kirito becomes a girl, and there's a girl that wears a thong for some reason in this gun game.
And it's just the excuse for Yuri.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I love me some Yuri.
Yeah.
I love Femslash, but with a purpose, not just fan service.
Did you check out Sakura Trick? It was like 2 seasons ago.
I have not seen that.
It's not worth it. Don't watch it.
No,
That was
I won't.
That
I
was
will
a
not add
terrible
that to my
portrayal.
list then.
Let me tell you a thing about bad Yuri romance. You get two
I
girls
don't want to hear it.
2 girls in a school, and every episode they just end up kissing and hijinks. It's like, we're kissing on the balcony. Somebody comes in the room. Oh my god, we have to jump to the other balcony. Let's just flip over each other. Oh my god, we're kissing on the floor now. Oh my god. And then the other group of girls are just like, let's experiment too. I want to kiss too. And I'm just like, what? Where's the romance? It's just kissing on the floor and in the balcony and like almost getting caught. It's so frustrating. But good romance.
Good romance in anime, when you come by it, is amazing.
Grab it.
You cherish it.
And it doesn't have to be like in a slice of life anime or even just like a romance anime. We get it in the action style anime. I think FMA did a wonderful job with romance.
The romance between Ed and Winry, that slow build, natural friendship to romance stage, beautiful. They did such a wonderful job with it. And especially how they don't actually become a couple until the very last episode.
Yeah.
And you don't see any of them being a couple until you see the wedding photo in the credits.
Yeah,
That's
and there's
it.
all these like awkward moments which you get a lot of times with these slow build relationships. Like when she was fixing Ed's arm and he kind of looks over at her and you know he's starting to have some manly feelings, immediately looks over and starts just naming off elements off the periodic table. And she's just like, what's wrong with you? Or the scene where he catches her, like, about to take her top off. Like, these awkward moments that are sort of hinting at there is something more going on.
It's building. And
yeah.
the build is so important to relationships when it comes to anime depictions of them. Because I feel like a lot of shows just kind of jump right into it without that build. But when you get it, it is so nice.
Yeah. And I think FMA had a bunch of relationships that were really good. Like Ling Yao and Lanfan is one of my favorite relationships ever because it's so different from the one between Ed and Winry, but you still get that same feeling of romance where they just deeply care about each other and want to protect each other no matter what.
Especially in Lanfan's case.
Yeah. And it's just so important to watch it. And like those scenes between the characters, you can tell like that the artist put in a lot of time to put their facial structures together in these scenes to express how they were feeling towards each other and that there is more of a romance here. And it just feels so good when you get that.
And I think if we're talking about romance in FMA, we have to mention Roy and Riza.
Please.
Because I don't think there is any other ship in the history of anime that people wanted to happen more than Roy and Riza.
That one was a slow build in FMA. It was a slow build in FMA.
It was an even slower build in Brotherhood.
Yeah. And it was so intriguing to learn about their pasts and like the fact that Roy was being taught by like the mentor and the tattoo on her back was like the secret to flame alchemy and et cetera and the trust that they get between each other. And when he's describing his team as chess pieces on a board and he calls her his queen, I'm like, yes, please. And it's just so nice the way that they took it at the end. Like you could tell that there was something building and it was nice like in the little still images where Roy grows a mustache for some reason.
For some reason.
He's got to let the Führer keep going, you know. Führer Bradley had a stash. Führer Mustang's got to have a mustache too,
Of
apparently.
course.
If you're going to be Führer, all you need is a mustache. I don't know why Armstrong didn't become Führer. He had the coolest mustache.
Right, exactly.
And then another form of romance is the bromance. We had an amazing bromance between Armstrong and what was the husband of Teacher? What was his name? I can't think of his name.
I can't remember.
But they got the coolest bromance ever. Like, it was like a romantic bro relationship in FMAB.
It was the Bara bromance.
Suddenly, awesome handshakes start flying and they're flexing at each other, and I'm like, yeah, I
That
can
was
dig
probably
it.
one of my favorite friendships that ever developed in an anime. It was just so unique.
Yeah, it was absolutely awesome, and I love it when an anime can do that and just give you that bromance feel that nowadays is like a really big and popular thing to have these like bromances or whatever.
Speaking of free.
Speaking of free, there is a lot of bromance
We will
going on.
continually bring it back to free. No, we won't. We're going to move on. But other strong depictions of romance. One of my favorite classical series is Wolf's Rain. And that's another series where it's very slow build. You have two of their main relationships are Kiba and Cheza. And that's sort of like the romance predestined by fate. We'll say it's the wolf meant to open paradise with the flower maiden. Like that.
Yep.
That's kind of your peanut butter and jelly of romance in that world. But then you have this romance forming on the side between Blue and Hige. Mm-hmm. And they have one of those give and take relationships that's so important because every relationship that is healthy is give and take. Mm-hmm. But the way they form their friendship, they start off kind of on the wrong foot and then they just get to know each other more and they form this implicit bond and trust between them to the point where, well, I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't watched it because it's worth the watch.
It really is worth the watch. That is like one of the many anime that I will recommend right off the bat. I'll be like, please watch this. Slides it across the table.
It is in my top 5 for sure.
Oh, easily.
But then along in Wolf's Rain, you also have that relationship between Cher and Hub, who they were married prior to the start of the series, and we see them kind of going through that divorce phase where they kind of both still have feelings for each other, but it really didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So they're not really sure where they stand. And Hub is kind of at that place where he's like, he wants to keep trying, but Cher's distracted by everything else going on. And throughout the series, you kind of see them navigating their relationship together alongside all this other apocalyptic stuff that's happening. And the way they find each other again in the series, it is beautiful. And again, it's a unique way that we see romance develop.
It's a different way to like go about it because the angle that they take on it is really intriguing because it's taking something that actually happens in real life and putting it in anime, which we don't get very often. Exactly. We generally get these ridiculous plot lines that would just never occur. It's like, what?
But I feel like people going through divorce and finding each other again afterwards is something that happens very, very commonly in real life.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to be separated for a while. And this isn't even just in marriage. It could be in a relationship. Sometimes you just need to take a break and be on your own and reevaluate your life, and then you'll see where the paths take you, and you might just end up back together again.
Exactly. And I think it's also interesting because usually when we get characters in fiction, we see them falling in love for the first time. That's usually what their romance story follows. But this plot revolved around them finding each other again. They'd already fallen in love. They just had to rekindle that flame. And it was a really interesting thing to watch develop over the course of 30 episodes.
Yeah. And actually over the summer I was watching... It's kind of old, but it's Okami-sama and her 7 companions, and I'd never seen it before. It was on Netflix, and I was just like, why not? I'll watch this. It's goofy, it's supposed to be funny, but there was this relationship that developed in there where, like, you've got this typical awkward boy that falls in love with the punky girl that's the main character, but it was just done the right way in a comedic way where I still appreciated it. And there are so many anime that take that comedic stance or like they try and put a spin on romance in just the weirdest way. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? Like,
it's just so unnecessary.
When I was younger, I enjoyed reading Love Hina. I thought it was funny. And then I watched the anime and it wasn't very funny.
Nope.
I didn't care for that. I was just like, I know you're trying to be funny, but this is not amusing to me. And this brings me to bad romance, like terrible romance in anime. And the first one that pops into my mind, always and forever, the worst romance. And
I'm bracing myself here.
And the weirdest anime ever that I recommend to no one, School Days. School Days is not only disturbing, but horrible romance where you have a boy taking advantage of at least 25 different girls over the course of, I think it's 24 episodes.
That's terrible.
They're all in high school. He's getting people pregnant. He's not taking responsibility for anything. He falls in love with one girl, and then he's like, I don't like you anymore. And he just crushes her and falls in love with another girl, and then all the girls start falling in love with him, and I'm just like, why are all of these girls falling in love with you? This is horrible. And it's just the worst romance anime I have ever seen in my life. Like, I cringed thinking about watching it because our friend Keeps actually recommended it to me. He's just like, this isn't a good show by any means, but it is something to see if you enjoy anime. because this
I
shows
don't know
you
if I'd agree with
the
him on
lowest
that.
of the low. And it was the lowest of the low. Never have I seen an anime depict a boy just taking advantage of girls with no repercussions whatsoever until the very end with the most extreme repercussion ever. And I'm just like so frustrated with it. And I can't stand that anime. It makes me so angry.
I've never seen it, and just hearing about it makes me angry.
I hate it when they depict female characters in a romance setting as like these weak characters that just can't make their own decisions.
It makes me so angry.
That's like the number one thing to do. If you're depicting a romance, you have to have like a weak female character that needs to be saved by the boy, and then she falls in love with him just cause. Not because it
is a huge stereotype, not just in anime, but...
Oh yeah, this is a problem
fictional
everywhere.
romances in general, where it's the weak female and she needs to be protected, and she can't really stand up for herself, and she spends the entire time pining over the boy and needing him, and she really doesn't have a personality outside of her obsession and love for this boy.
And I'm so tired of that. I want
so
different
dumb.
kinds of romance between a male and female, and Attack on Titan is actually an interesting take on romance. Now, it's not, there constantly. We're not seeing it all the time. But right. I actually do really enjoy how they depict the relationship between Mikasa and Eren. Mm-hmm. It is a sibling thing, but there's also romance feel to it.
It's a very strange relationship that they have. Because, again, you can't really call it friendship or romance.
Yeah, it's either
sort of a
or.
bond unique to them.
Yeah, and I like that. We need more of that in a romantic setting. Like, it doesn't have to be romantic for there to be a relationship.
Yes, I think more shows need to focus more on the actual relationship between the characters. Not just the romance side of it, but what makes these characters care about each other so much.
Mm-hmm. What made them initially just start to think about each other all the time? What brought them together? What experiences have they had? Give us more on their backstories, more information. I need that. I need more depth on these characters, because just at face value saying they locked eyes and fell in love, how often does that happen?
Never.
I have never had that
Never.
happen. I've never just walked down the street and saw, like, linked eyes with someone and just been like, you, me, now. We're
getting married.
We're getting married. This is anime world. We're going to the chapel right now.
Well, have you tried going to Vegas? Maybe that'll happen there.
Maybe. If I get drunk enough. Maybe, just maybe. But then that's just a whole nother bag of worms that I don't need right now.
No.
And I think about a lot of times in anime, they do this all the time, is the characters will never kiss. There is a lack thereof kissing. Toradora was like one of my favorite anime of all time because they kiss.
Yes.
It's just like...
Okay, big recommendation time. If you want to see a fantastic romance anime, Toradora.
Toradora, hands down. You see characters fall in love with one character and then fall in love with another. And that happens. People get into relationships and then they realize, I actually like your friend or something like that. Like, that happens. It's natural.
I thought we would be good together, but we're actually not.
Yeah. Turns out the person that set us up together or whatever is actually the person that... Like, these things actually do happen. Mm-hmm. It is not that odd of an occurrence in the real world.
Exactly.
And Toradora does such a beautiful job just showing us these characters and their weird quirks and their horrible, like, backstory lifestyles that they grow up in. You've got Ryuji, who's got this missing father, and then on the other hand, we've got a girl who just has no parents whatsoever, and she's alone.
Taiga.
Poor Taiga doesn't know what to do. We've got the student council president who's got to leave, and, like, it's just, there are so many interesting character backstories that just really feed this romance that happens in anime, and that's a slow burn.
Yes. Like, by the end of Toradora, you will be screaming because you'll be so frustrated. You want them to be together so badly.
The tears and the towels and the feelings.
You will cry your eyes out.
Yeah.
I don't care if you are stone cold mister. You will cry your eyes out.
And there are wonderful OVAs to watch for Toradora that you can enjoy, and it just never ends.
The feels will never end.
The feelings will never end. But, like, I think about a lot of anime like Ouran.
Ouran High School Host Club. Top 5 favorite anime for sure. It is amazing.
It is absolutely amazing.
I don't think I've ever met someone who has not liked Oran, and I can't say that about many anime shows.
Yeah.
Like, I really can't.
Most people have like that one where they're just like, yeah, I don't like it or whatever. But this is just accepted by all as A+, 2 thumbs up.
And now, some people might call me a hypocrite, because you'll be like, wait, Mango, you just said you don't like harem animes, and Oran's kind of a reverse harem, isn't it? And I'm gonna shut you down right now. Because reverse harems are typically handled a lot different than the usual harem anime trope.
Oh, yeah. Because
in the harem trope, the one dude surrounded by a bunch of girls that want to get on him.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is focused on the guy. These girls have no other personalities, you don't really find out their backstories, and all of them are hot and bothered for this one guy, and that's the entire plot of the show. In Oran and a lot of other reverse harem, quote unquote, shows, it's not like that at all. The guys are still treated like individual people, and you get their backstories, and they have motivations and goals that have nothing to do with the female character. And most importantly, not all the guys want in on the female character. They're not all romantically attracted to her. You'll maybe get like 1 or 2, or in the case of Oran, 3. But other than that,
the rest of them are just there to move the plot along and be quirky and cause events between the characters that are actually having romance like brew between them. And I love the different scenarios that happen in Oran and like how they reflect different characters. And it's so nice to see the romance not always being in the focus. Sometimes you just get to see the characters be together and just get up to hijinks.
And deal with other issues besides romance. Because I think we all can agree, we have a lot more going on in our individual lives than just whoever we're crushing on lately.
I don't know about you, Nina, but I spend a lot of time thinking about my crush.
Okay.
I hang out in my room and I'm just like, I'm brooding. And then I go out in the world and I'm like, I want to love. No, I'm not a real anime. I can't do that. But Oran is an amazing anime. And even though they don't get to kiss...
Yes, this is one show where they will not kiss at the end. But it's okay. It's the one instance where you'll be like, you know what? I'm alright that they didn't kiss, because everything else was so perfect.
Yep, absolutely. Everything else was good, so the lack thereof kissing is totally fine with me. And this brings us to our main topic, which we'll be covering in just a moment after we cover the news. Hey everybody, it's Anton bringing you your anime and convention news for the week of October 5th, 2014. Durarara Times 2 has released a promo video that teases the new story and a new character, Aoba. And with a name like that, he might just be getting the dog throughout the entire series, if you know what I mean. Along with this new character, we get to see some familiar faces make their return. The promo video debuted at Dangeki Bunko Falls Festival event on Sunday, and it has been fairly well received by many fans, including myself. And most of us fans are super excited for the continuation of Durarara after that amazing first run. On Friday, it was announced that Animax Asia will be simulcasting Parasite the Maxim on their website. This station will premiere the series on October 9th and will be exclusively releasing it on Animax. Parasite the Maxim is based on Hitoshi Iwaki's award-winning manga that goes by the same name and will revolve around a parasite epidemic that occurs in present-day Japan. The story will follow Shinichi Izumi, an ordinary high school student who would have guessed, that ends up being attacked by alien parasites only to escape just barely. He manages to not be completely infected by these alien parasites, and the plot will only thicken from there. Tokyo Ghoul's Sui Ishida is set to launch a new manga on October 16th within Young Jump magazine. On Friday, within Young Jump itself, Ishida made the announcement for a new project coming forth, and that the new manga will have a 45-page first chapter, with a color opening page and art on the magazine's cover. All you Tokyo Ghoul fans out there, keep praying that this is a continuation. And now on to some convention news. As Nina and I mentioned during the show, Youmacon is coming up and we can't wait. Well, actually we probably could wait just to have more time to work on costumes. Youmacon takes place in Detroit, Michigan within the Detroit Marriott at the Renaissance Center and the Kobo Center between the dates of October 30th and November 2nd. Pre-purchase passes are no longer available, but you will be able to get your $60 weekend pass at the door for the convention. If you have any plans to stop by Youmacon and happen to see either Nina or myself, feel free
to come by and say hello. This has been your anime and convention news for the week of October 5th, and we'll be back with the show in just a moment.
Alrighty, guys. I hope you enjoyed the news section. We're back now with a review of Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun.
One of the new series that took place this summer, and probably one of my favorites, other than the sports anime that we talked about last week.
Yep. It is a 12-episode series, and it spanned over the summer, obviously, and it takes place in Japan, obviously. No way!
It's sort of a slice of life romance, and it takes place in high school. And right now you're probably like, oh, been there, done that. But no, you haven't.
Not like this, you haven't.
So the plot of Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun is we focus on Sakura Chiyo, and she's a first year, second year?
Second year, because she's 16.
She's a second year student at this high school, and she has a huge crush on Nozaki-kun, who is this tall, dark, strong, silent type. And you're like, okay, I can see where this is going to go. Mm-hmm. He's going to be cold and shut her down, and she's going to spend the rest of the anime chasing after him.
And he's going to be so suave, and
he's
all
going
the
to be
ladies
so
are going to be
mean
all
to
over
her.
him.
Like, he's just not going to acknowledge her, and it's going to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Not quite.
Because it turns out Nozaki-kun is a famous mangaka. He writes shoujo manga.
He knows the feelings of girls better than girls know the feelings of girls.
Unfortunately, he's extremely oblivious to real people's emotions.
Absolutely.
He can write romance, but he does not really understand it in real life. So, little Sakura Chiyo finally gets up the courage to confess her feelings to Nozaki-kun, and that's where the first episode begins. She's confessing to him, and she kind of fumbles the words a little bit and ends up saying, "I'm your biggest fan." And Nozaki-kun interprets that as, oh, she wants my autograph. So instead of acknowledging her confession, he gives her an autograph. And poor Sakura Chiyo just looks at this autograph and is like, what have I done?
Yeah, because first off, it says Yumino on there, not his name. And she's just like, wait, Yumino? Shoujo mangas. She goes home, she finds out that he writes shoujo manga, and it's just like, where is this going to go now? And the show takes another twist. Because now Nozaki-kun and her end up hanging out through a series of events, and he has her help him do beta in the mangas.
And for those of you that don't know, beta would be filling in all the black areas and inking. And Sakura's in the art club, and she's very good at art, so she takes up the beta work for his manga. And she kind of justifies it like, okay, well, he doesn't understand that I have a crush on him, but this way I still get to spend time with him, and I'm helping him, and you know what? That's good enough for me, which is very rare to see in anime. Usually we have the girl still pining and being upset that he won't acknowledge her, but little Sakura Chiyo, I love her with all my heart. Bless her soul.
She is such a sweetheart.
She's just
I want to pick her up and lift her in the air like Nozaki, because I too am large and bara with dark hair.
But she just decides, you know what? I can help him this way, and I can be his friend, and that's fine.
Yep.
And so the rest of the series focuses on them working together and her helping him with his manga and trying to figure out different scenarios that he can incorporate with his new storylines and characters. And you see different characters in the high school. You meet fellow students and see how he's drawn inspiration for his manga characters from them.
And this is one of the most interesting things that he does, is that a lot of the roles are reversed. You've got boys playing the female characters and girls playing the male characters in his manga.
Right.
And
like his main female character in his manga is based off of his friend Mikorin.
Yep.
And this guy, he's very similar to Tamaki, for those of you who've seen Oran. He's kind of that flamboyant, suave. When you're introduced, you're like, oh, this guy is really cool. He's super suave.
The first time you're introduced to him, he just shouts out of the window or whatever at that group of girls.
He's flirting with girls out the window, saying all these like really smooth shoujo manga romance lines. Yeah. And then he turns out to be the biggest dweeb you will ever encounter.
His face begins to match his hair in that it turns bright red.
Because he says these really smooth lines, and then he's like, oh no, that was so embarrassing. That was so horribly embarrassing. He gets really flustered, and he's a character that needs constant affirmation from other characters. Like, he needs people to give him attention and just dote on him and reassure him that what he's doing is cool.
Like when he was first introduced to Sakura and they were working together and he's like, don't ask me any questions. I'm too good for you. I'm not going to help you.
He's been helping Nozaki-kun all this time, and now Sakura is his new assistant, so he's kind of taken on the senpai role. So you see him just kind of being cold and tsundere about it. And eventually Nozaki comes over to Sakura and he's like, hey, just so you know, he wants you to ask for help because he wants to feel useful. So Sakura is kind of like, oh, Mikorin, can you come over here and show me how to do this thing that I already know how to do?
I don't know what this symbol means. Oh, fool!
How could you not know that? And
Yeah.
then he starts lecturing her, and it's just a really, really cute friendship that they form.
He is adorable. And, like, the way they develop his character throughout the entire anime is just so sweet. With him playing the virtual novel games and trying
To up his dorkiness to another level, in order to be better with real life girls, he's like, I'm going to start playing those dating sim games and figure out how women work. And that's how it starts off, but then he goes too deep. And he does not resurface. He gets so emotionally invested in these dating sim games to the point where he pulls Nozaki-kun into it too. And I won't ruin that episode for you because it is my favorite episode of the entire series.
Where that episode goes is just so
Beautiful.
funny. It's
Beautiful.
perfect.
And this, I have not laughed this hard watching anime in a long time.
Oh yeah. I
It's
was dying.
Hysterical. Because what it does, it takes a lot of those stereotypical shoujo tropes, like the sparkles and the flowing cherry blossoms and like sharing an umbrella in the rain, and it takes all of those and makes fun of them relentlessly.
Oh yeah, it picks fun at all of that so much. Like when they were doing the umbrella thing. This isn't very spoilery at all. And first Sakura's carrying the umbrella, and she starts to think that it's so cute, and you can tell she's struggling because she's probably 5 feet tall.
She is itty bitty, and
He's about
Nozaki-kun
6'3"
is super tall.
at least.
So their height difference is adorable.
So she's holding the umbrella up, and they're walking, and it's fine. But then she starts to get the dokies, and she pulls the umbrella down and is like smothering him with it. And the people around them are just like, is she crushing him? I think she's crushing him. Then Nozaki starts to carry the umbrella.
And it's just not working.
He starts to think about shoujo manga, and he's like, oh, I should tip it her direction because that's what the main character would do.
It doesn't work out well, let's just put it that way.
Oh, gosh.
But the way they depicted the romance in this, because there will be occasions where Sakura starts thinking like, oh, is he finally understanding that I do have a crush on him? Is he starting to reciprocate? Is he flirting back with me? And you'll keep getting these false leads. And the way the end of the season climaxes with that, it's so perfect. And I can't say any more without ruining it.
All right, so I think at this point we should get into some of the other relationships in the show. And there were 2 other ones. And which one do you want to get into?
Let's go into the basketball one, just to stick with that sports anime theme a little bit.
All right. So with the basketball team, we're introduced to Seo Yuzuki, who is the punkiest, craziest female character you will ever see.
It's take that shonen anime male character, the
Take
lead,
Naruto.
and put him into a female body, and that's who Seo is. She is crazy and obnoxious and super tsundere to the max.
Oh yeah, and getting chased by teachers all the time.
She's a delinquent punk, basically.
Yeah. And the sports clubs basically take her on and have her come on for like practice where she just does everything wrong.
She won't pass the ball.
She laughs like maniacally like a bad character. She won't pass. She plays aggressively. She fouls constantly.
And essentially she shows the teams how teamwork isn't supposed to work.
They're supposed to learn to not play like her. And this is where we're introduced to Wakamatsu, who is Nozaki's friend. And he's good at, I don't know what it's called actually, technically, where they put the little like gray filters over and cut it out in mangas.
Screen tones.
Screen tones. And he's really good at that. But they start to get this weird relationship where she's picking on him constantly.
And he misses the nuance that it's because she likes him. And he just thinks she's harassing him. And he doesn't understand how to get her to stop. And he just kind of puts up with it because he's terrified of her. Because understandably, she's quite terrifying. And she takes him on a date to the movies, and the entire time he's freaking out because he's just waiting for her to beat him up or something.
And she's obsessed with all the goriest portions, and he likes the relationships. And you get this cute scene where she leans down on his lap, and he's just like, I'll have ammo against her because of this. And she'll be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then he realizes she's just getting comfortable. And she's just laying there stuffing her face. And it ends up when they leave the movie, it's as if they didn't even watch the same film. And I really like their relationship because at one point he tries to tell her off. He
finally tries to grow a backbone and stick up for himself, and
he fails miserably.
It fails miserably.
Yeah, not to spoil anything, but in typical anime fashion, things are going down at the most visited place in an anime that we have no access
roof.
to. Yeah, the school roof.
And it's very dramatic, and it kind of gets into that making fun of anime, and especially shoujo manga again. And it's brilliant. I love their relationship so much.
And then finally, we've got the
Drama Club
that I have so many feelings about.
My favorite character in the show is Kashima, and she is this tomboy. And okay, so you think back to Oran, and we have Tamaki, who's the prince. Well, Kashima's kind of the prince of Gekkan Shoujo, in the sense that every single girl in the school thinks she is so prince-like.
And she is in a direct competition with Mikorin,
who's trying really hard to be the cool, suave male lead. But Kashima's doing that, even though she's a girl.
And wears a skirt, but wears boys' tops. But always wears, like, girls' bottoms. And Kashima's a part of the drama club, and she always plays the male lead. She is the male, like, protagonist, the prince. She's always the hero in everything. And just like that, in Nozaki-Kun's manga, she too plays the lead and is sort of where they get all the inspiration for how this character will be formed and like all of the cute things. So it's really sweet. And you're also introduced to her love interest,
Masayuki Hori, who is the president of the drama club. And he's really frustrated by Kashima's existence because, as I mentioned, all the girls in the school are obsessed with her because she's just got that cool, suave male attitude about her.
And Hori always assumes that Kashima is just causing trouble for everyone and is beating her up and just grabbing her. And
he throws her across the room. It's
giving
terrible.
her chores to do and just everything.
Just because the girls will always come in and interrupt rehearsal, and if she's trying to paint the set, the girls will show up and kind of botch everything.
And the best part is that Hori is actually smaller than Kashima.
He's pretty short, and it's funny because that's actually the reason why he couldn't play the leads in most of the play and why he took up directing and being the president instead because of his height.
Yep. And there's this adorable scene where he picks up Kashima and then she goes, I can do that too, you know, and just lifts him up and he just gets so angry and he's always getting mad. And I love the way they depicted their romance between each other because it was through the club events. Especially the scene where they were rehearsing and there was this sword fight. And even though he knew he was supposed to lose, he didn't want to lose. It was one of those competitive relationships. And I love a competitive relationship like that where you're just pushing your partner more and more.
It's like how we talked about rivalries last episode, where rivalries can be a very positive thing and sometimes romance can spring from them. Hello, Ren Haru shippers, that one was for you.
But I loved seeing that, just develop over the course of the show. It was so adorable, and just, to watch him realize that he might have some feelings towards her. And
her kind of realizing that, she has feelings for him, too, and almost in the way that, she realizes he has this dream of wanting to be on stage, and how can she help him achieve that dream? And she misinterprets it as not him wanting to be the hero, but wanting to be the princess.
He wants to be saved. But I loved in Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun that there's never any explicit, I love you.
Right. You never see an actual confession. Even when Sakura Chio's trying to confess, it never comes out right.
Yeah, because realistically speaking, let's say that this anime takes over the course of, 4 months.
Semester?
Yeah, 4 to 6 months, something like that. Nobody's gonna just be head over heels madly in love that quickly in this setting with those kinds of interactions. And it's more of like this friendship that begins, which then turns into a romance.
And it hasn't even culminated yet. It's not like a concrete relationship. They are canon dating. All of this is just relationships that are kind of hinted at, and we see them dancing around each other throughout the entire series on all three fronts.
Yeah. And then on the final episode, we've got all the pairs going off their separate ways. And I thought that was really cute how they all of the characters ended up at this central location at the same time, but not in the pairs that you expected them to. And then slowly over the course of the episodes, they start to split off with their pairing that you would put them with. And it is just the way that they did that was so smooth.
And
it was
natural.
It just felt perfectly natural. It's like you're meeting up with your friends and it's just like, hey, why don't you come with me? Hey, what's going on? Oh, I see that they just left you. You want to go and see this? I want to go take pictures of that. And that's exactly what it would happen like. It's not just walking up and be, hey, baby, let's go hang out and talk about how much we love each other in anime form. Yeah.
Nope.
None of that. And it just felt so real in the end. And no characters just like freaking out over the fact that there's no love happening, or maybe there is love happening. We're just not seeing it. And I almost didn't. I'm so glad that I didn't see it. I was happy that I didn't see it.
It was one of the most refreshing things, and that's why I think it gets back to Oran, because even in the final episode of Oran, you had Tamaki and Haruhi. They kind of got together. Kind of, but again, there was no kiss. There was no
kiss, kiss, fall in love.
You think there would be, but that opening sequence was very misleading.
Yeah, it was a lie.
Kiss, kiss, fall in love, don't expect it.
Yeah, kiss, kiss, fall in hugs is what that should have been, because that's what ends up happening.
More like cry, cry, cry some more.
Yeah.
That is a series that will mess you up.
Yeah. Gekkan Shoujo won't mess you up at all.
Gekkan Shoujo will not mess you up. You might shed a tear here and there. Just
maybe, especially on the last episode.
If you get really invested in the last episode, and you might be crying just because you're so happy, because it's such a fun show, or crying from laughter, because as we mentioned, it's hysterical.
Yeah, it is a perfect combination of romance and comedy, which generally in anime, the two don't mesh very well. We get a lot of problems that arise from trying to mesh those two genres together, because they'll either focus too much on one or the other, or they'll just do one really poorly and the other one will be written well, and it's very frustrating a lot of times. So to see something like this, like you said, it is refreshing. That is what I call this anime. It is refreshing. It was wonderful to watch, and I was so glad that it came out over the summer, and it was something nice to watch over the course of the summer.
It was a really good follow-up to all the emotional sports anime.
Yeah.
If you had a bad episode of Free, you go watch an episode of Gekkan Shoujo, and you were fine.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those shows that you actually could sit down and marathon and really enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
There are some shows that cannot be marathon. I think that does happen.
I agree.
And I can marathon a lot of shows.
But no, there's some out there where you have to take your time with it. And Gekkan Shoujo's, it's lighthearted, it's funny. Sit down and marathon it sometime. You won't regret it.
Yeah, and the little side stories, the side plots, are really well written.
And that's why it made me think of Oran again, because we had all the characters have their individual backstories and their individual goals, and they're not defined by these relationships and romances. And that's what makes a strong romance plot. It really does. Yeah, and they've got these cute hobbies and stuff like that. We've got Seo, who's an amazing singer, and then you've got Mikorin, who's into little figures and all this stuff, and just everybody has their own little quirk. And it's really nice to see that, because you actually see, especially in the Seo relationship, that he falls in love with her over her voice almost. He falls in love with a recording of her voice that has been given to him because he can't sleep. Then it comes to be that it's actually Seo. And now he has to deal with this discrepancy between his feelings. On one hand, I'm in love with her, her voice and this idea of her. On the other hand, I know who she is in real life, and I'm terrified of her. And it's so cute. And I loved how they would introduce the characters in the show, because they would have Nozaki be I want to introduce a new character to the manga. So let's find somebody in the school that we can introduce as a new character in the manga.
And it was really nice to see his backstory, actually, with his editor and his previous editor, with his obsession with tanukis. That was
fantastic.
That was so funny. You've got this other shoujo manga artist, and she is falling into the same issues that Nozaki-kun was with his previous editor, who's a little bit weird and quirky and just...
She's a special one.
Yeah. And tanukis happen. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought the tanuki... Because when you see the intro of the show, you're got like, this tanuki...
Why are there tanukis everywhere?
Why is Sakura fighting a tanuki? Why
are they hitting it with a baseball bat? Yeah. What is going on?
What is happening? And then it makes sense.
So it's just one of those other quirky elements that really adds just that little extra touch of realism. It's quirky because life is quirky.
Yeah, life is quirky. It's never straight and narrow and follows this direct path of romance all the time, comedy all the time, action all the time. You've got a lot of twists and turns where it just takes one turn this way and one turn that way. One episode we're focusing on romance, the next episode we're focusing on comedy. And it's really nice to see that. Because...
it's something that we've been lacking since Ouran finished. Like, in the interim, there hasn't really been another series before Gekkan that kind of took that place of romantic comedy in a way that's really lighthearted and natural feeling with good character development and a solid plot and just fantastic depiction of romance itself.
And I love the art.
The art is phenomenal, and so is the music. Honestly,
the music is so
the score
good.
for Gekkan Shoujo, like, if anything gave me feelings, it was the music.
Yeah, the music would really set the tone for the scene, and a lot of times in anime, you will see some lackluster music. You'll either see it be the extreme best or the extreme worst.
Right.
There's no really middle ground, and this was one of the shows where it's just like, here's the best.
It was way better than it needed to be for what the show is. Like, it isn't a plot that really requires, like, a dramatic score or anything like Attack on Titan. Mm-mm. But they did such a great job orchestrating it. And if you're hesitant on watching the show still, for some reason, and you're still managing to listen to us, I encourage you to at least watch the opening and then decide. Because the opening credits, as soon as they happen, I'm like, I'm on board.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to edit those opening credits into this episode somewhere.
Please do.
I will take the intro and I will put them into the intro.
Perfect.
Because people need to hear it.
Yeah.
It is so good. So, Nina, out of 5 hair ribbons, how many would you give Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun?
6.
6
ribbons.
6
hair ribbons.
6 hair ribbons. I loved it when Nozaki pretended he didn't recognize Sakura.
Oh, that was so cute.
That was one of the cutest things. But yeah, I highly recommend this show to everyone.
Please watch it. Even if you don't really like shoujo series and you're not really into romance, I really encourage that you watch it just because it's so lighthearted and funny, and it's a quick series to marathon, and you won't regret it. You really won't.
No regrets with this show. Now, Nina.
And now, for those of you who maybe have a different taste in romance anime, I want to talk about another series that came out this summer called Love Stage. Ooh. And this was an anticipated BL show, which we haven't really had one lately. Like, not since World's Greatest Love Story and the companion series, Junjo Romantica. Mm-hmm. We haven't really gotten anything since that, so when Love Stage was announced, it was highly anticipated. And I started watching it because the main character is actually voiced by Nagisa's voice actor from Free. So I was like, gotta watch it. Especially because one of the other characters is named Ray. So it was perfect. But this series, it follows the story of Izumi. And he's this nerdy little manga-obsessed kid. He's in college. He's a freshman. And I think he's a freshman.
I believe he is a freshman.
Okay. Well, he's this college student who's obsessed with becoming a mangaka, and he comes from a family of movie stars and opera singers, and his brother's in a rock band, and everyone in his family is famous. And then he's just kind of the ugly, awkward duckling. And we find out that once upon a time, he starred in a wedding commercial as a child because the little girl who was supposed to be in the commercial didn't show up. But Izumi has very feminine features, so they put the kid in a wedding dress and had him play the girl. And his co-star was Ryoma Ichigo. And Ryoma he's a very popular young actor in Japan. He's like the hot guy what are they called?
The
He's like
shonen.
he's like the hot male celebrity at the time. And so we find out that Izumi had this past experience with him, and they really bonded during it. And eventually we find out that during the time that spanned between when the commercial took place and the present, that Ryuma has developed this huge crush on Izumi, who he thinks was a little girl when they filmed together. And he is head over heels for this girl, Izumi. And he hopes to meet her again, and they'll fall in love, and it'll be beautiful. And then the director who directed the wedding commercial 10 years ago decides he wants to do an anniversary shoot. And it'll show that little girl who caught the bouquet being married to the boy that was with her. So Ryoma and Izumi. So they meet up for the shoot, and one way or another, Ryoma finds out, oh, Izumi's a boy. Well, I done diddly goofed.
What do now?
And it just kind of deals with both of them struggling with the fact that Ryoma really loves him. Like, his love for this person isn't going to go away just because he finds out that he's a guy. And it's unexpected, but he's not going to fight it. And Izumi's struggling with it because he never considered any of that. And he's also struggling with his own identity crisis because his family's still pushing him towards going into the entertainment business, and he's trying really hard to be a mangaka because he loves drawing and he loves anime, and he wants to make this happen. Unfortunately, the poor kid can barely draw a stick figure. And so we just see him trying to find out who he is and what he wants to do with his life. And again, that kind of goes back to why I enjoyed Free so much, because it's a very realistic thing that we all struggle with. And it's something you don't really get in a lot of BL shows. In most BL shows, we have that stereotypical romance, and that's all there is, and that's it. We got a little bit more in World's Greatest Love Story, but Love Stage kind of took that to the next level, where the romance was just as important as each character's individual development, and that was really nice to see. What was also nice to see, I'm just going to town on this. What was also nice to see is that in most BL shows, we have like the seme and the uke. And the seme is this cold, dark, brooding one, and he's like really adamant that he wants the uke, and the uke is like, I'm really tiny and Shota, and I don't like you, stay away from me. And he's just really tsundere and resistant, and this got so frustrating in World's Greatest Love Story to the point where I was physically nauseous because I was so mad at the main character. I was like, you love him, you clearly love him, get over yourself. Just make out. But however, in Love Stage, all those tropes are kind of thrown out the window, because instead of Ryoma being this hot, suave actor, he's a giant dweeb. This is kind of a new trope that's emerging, like the hot guy.
The hot guy that's sort of
total dork.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do with himself.
We even kind of got that with Rei and Free.
Yeah.
And Rin, because the biggest dweeb to ever dweeb.
Ankle bracelets.
Ankle bracelets are so important. But so Ryoma, he gets flustered easily, and he's just head over heels for Izumi, and he'll do anything for this kid. And Izumi, he's resistant, but not in the tsundere, like, I love you, but no, stay away type of manner. He's more like, I need to figure out my own feelings before I do anything with you, because that's not fair to you. And I think that's a very realistic thing that happens in real life too, where people are like, I don't want to do anything because I need to get my own stuff together before moving forward with a relationship. And Izumi's kind of the same way, where he's like, I got to figure out what I'm doing with my life if I'm entering the entertainment business first, and then we can figure out the relationship stuff. And it's another thing that kind of happens in BL anime is that kind of like rapey vibe, to put it lightly.
We get that a lot in a lot of BL shows.
Yeah, and
boys on the back seat complaining about their butts hurting.
Well, not even that. It's just you'll get kind of the same like pushing the uke around, and the uke is just like, no, stop. I do not want this. Like, he is saying no. And tip, no means no.
Yeah.
When someone's saying no, you do not pass go. You do not collect $200. You go directly to jail.
Yeah.
And
because that's how life works.
That's how real life works. And in BL, it's it usually turns into kind of an uncomfortable situation as a viewer. And in Love Stage, you kind of got a hint of that at first, and you're like, oh no, it's happening again. But it doesn't. They kind of take that, twist it, throw it on its head, and then toss it out the window. And you don't see it again. And it's really refreshing. So I strongly encourage to anyone who is a fan of BL and is looking for a new series to pick up that kind of takes the old tropes and does something different with them. Check out Love Stage. It's a really cute story, and it'll give you feelings here and there, but again, it's one of those lighthearted, easy to marathon romances.
The summer was all about the romance.
It really was.
There was so much romance going on.
Even in shows that weren't about romance.
Sports anime had sports. Sports anime had sports. No,
I don't believe it.
Sports anime had romance. The romance had romance. The slice of life had romance. And even shows like Zankyo no Terror had romance. And that show gives me so many feelings.
We will have an entire episode about Zankyo no Terror.
Can we do this next week?
Next week, we will be talking about Zankyo no Terror.
Please. I love that show more than a lot of things.
You know what? In honor of October, let's just do a whole episode about kind of horror anime.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Horror anime. Can we go to a haunted house next weekend and then do an episode about horror anime and talk about Zankyo no Terror and just...
Oh, God.
Yes!
Oh, no. Guys, if you don't hear from me next week...
Haru and Sasuke go to a haunted house.
Let's LARP!
You wanna? I'll go there in costume.
Oh, God. It never ends. We've gone too deep.
We've gone too deep. But overall, guys, we highly recommend Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun and...
Also Love Stage, if you're into that.
They're both great shows, and Love Stage got really good reviews. I watched the first couple of episodes, and I was just like, I need to watch this some other time because I have so many things on my plate right now.
Right.
But it was really good, and like, I'm not the biggest fan of BL. I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it and everything like that, but
You're more into like the yaoi ships as part of other shows.
Yeah, but I really did actually enjoy Love Stage, and I liked the art a lot. Mm-hmm. The art
it's a unique style, and the censorship is kind of hysterical.
Yeah.
You'll laugh at it. It's funny. It's ridiculous, but it's there.
But Nina, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Hythe on Tumblr and also Mango Cyrene on pretty much every other social media site, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.
And you can find me at sugoihotcakes.tumblr.com. You can find me on Twitter, Mantuan Addison. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Anime Cafe Podcast and twitter.com/AC Podcast. You can email us at animecafepodcast@gmail.com. You can review us and rate us on iTunes. Give us those 5-star reviews. I'll start reading them on the show.
Give us 6 ribbons, guys.
Give us 6 ribbons, please. 6 ribbons out of 5. Somebody hack into iTunes and make it so that you can give us 6 stars instead of 5. And I will read your guys' reviews on the show. And if you ever want to like just ask us a question, or you guys want us to cover a certain topic, feel free to tweet at us.
Yeah, if you have suggestions for subjects, or if you want to hear us review a particular anime, let us know.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it. We can throw in some topics, some people's questions about cosplaying and anything like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, I already talk about it in the news, so we might as well talk about it all the time. We do anyways. What is the top of our show? Talking about our cosplay adventures. What else would it be? LARPing. But yeah, you guys can check us out next week when we cover horror anime and Zankyo no Terror. We will catch you guys.
We'll probably throw in some Tokyo Ghoul too.
Oh, please.
Absolutely.
Oh, please. Tschüss, Kaneki-kun.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Deuces.
Shout out to Emma and Jillian. So scared and Haru miss you a lot.
This is what Mako